This is part of a journey, a 5-year journey that we started in 2020 that has now gotten us to this point, allowing us to actually touchlight and highlight the potential, the major potential in the informal sector. Who are the players in those sectors? How can we enable them? What is needed? What is missing? How much of what is informal can be formal? Do we even need to formalize anything?
Welcome to the Informal Sector Roundtable, thinking about a sustainable pathway for livelihoods for young people. And we say livelihoods because we now know that the answer won't always be a job, especially in the informal sector. And the question becomes, what else can we do for young people to make sure that wherever they are, especially informally, they're surrounded by an ecosystem that lets them grow, that lets them earn, that lets them build lives that are sustainable for themselves.
Around the conversation we're having today, a lot of the times the conversation is usually focused on the challenges, which we will also talk about the informal sector. But I also want us to look at the idea around the innovation and the creativity that exists and how these informal sectors are created.
It's actually pleasing that we're thinking of the challenges of the informal sector and how it's being perceived. What is government's take on the informal sector? Must everybody do a white-collar job? The answer is no.
A lot of us, especially our women, are already in the informal sector, whether they know it or not. Also, when you consider the high level of discrimination that takes place when people with disabilities are applying for formal jobs, you see that a lot of them resort to the informal sector. So for me, the informal sector is a place that we really need to channel our energy to.
Maybe we need to rename the informal thing so we provide more dignity to the workforce, right? And give it the same level of respect that the formal sector has.
So if we could provide resourcing, we can provide access to training to people in that sector, we can see how that sector is able to do so much within Nigeria.
And if you cannot demonstrate quality, you cannot charge a commensurate value. We've got to fix our standards. So whether it's establishing guilds or upskilling or certification programs, we've got to figure out a way to improve the overall quality of services being delivered.
An informal sector research was conducted to uncover the potential of the informal sector. And the sectors that were looked into were agriculture, creative, digital, artisan, and transportation. In the course of today's event, we'll look through all of these sectors.
The conversations we need to have in order to ensure that how do we boost and increase the income of informal sector people within the agri space? How do we develop their skills to make them more professional and to make them more sought-worthy, rather than just having, if you don't go to school, if you're just in secondary school or you cannot speak English, that's where you need to be. But things like professionals to ensure that they become well paid and are well recognized.
Let me tell you, this part that come and say, okay, your bag day junction, I don't drop out with the key. And they will move on. So the question is, when that happens, who do I report to? Can I report to a runner and we flag him? Until he comes for disciplinary discipline, he can never get a job anywhere. You start seeing discipline.
What value as creatives, what value do we put into our work? Because sometimes we want people to respect us so much so, but we don't even respect ourselves. We don't even see ourselves as people who do dignified labor.
Africa is excited to partner with Jobberman and MasterCard Foundation on this very, very important convening, talking about the informal sector and exploring the barriers, the enablers, the opportunities and the challenges that the informal sector presents for young people in Nigeria, especially in their quest to find dignified and fulfilling work?
The informal sector, as defined by our research, it will be the major driver for addressing the unemployment challenge in Nigeria.
About half the economy today is in the informal sector. And so it means that we can't grow without the informal sector. We can't drive our productivity or competitiveness as a market without the informal sector.
That solution is not to take them from the informal sector to the formal sector. The solution is to make sure that within that informal sector, they still have access to the right tools, the right learning, the right networks that can let them exist in a sufficient way.
This program was very educating. It helps you to know that you don't need a white-collar job to survive.
It was a very interesting event. I learned a lot of things. I was more engaged with the agricultural sector, and I learned a lot about agri-smart practices and a host of other things. It was a very wonderful experience. Thank you very much.